Arrakal Veedu. A chill deeper than the morning mist clinging to the backwaters of Kozhikode snaked through the old Nayar Dharwad. Its name, Arrakal Veedu, the House of Fear, was whispered more than spoken in the nearby village. For generations, the family had dwindled, each passing marked by strange occurrences and an unsettling silence that seemed to emanate from the very stones of the sprawling ancestral home. The last descendant, a young woman named Meera, had returned after years away, drawn back by a sense of duty and a stubborn refusal to let her family's history fade into oblivion. She found the house eerily preserved, as if time itself held its breath within its shadowed walls. Dust motes danced in the faint sunlight that pierced through the intricately carved wooden windows, illuminating antique furniture draped in white sheets like ghostly figures. The silence was the first thing that struck her, a heavy, suffocating absence of sound that amplified the slightest creak of the ancient floorboards under her feet. It was a silence that felt expectant, watchful. Days turned into weeks as Mira attempted to settle in, to breathe life back into the decaying mansion. She hired a local caretaker, an old man named Krishnan, whose eyes held a deep seated wariness whenever he spoke of the house. He'd recount fragmented tales of strange lights flickering in the uninhabited wings, of whispers carried on the windless nights, and of a chilling laughter that echoed through the halls long after everyone was asleep. Mira, educated in the pragmatic world outside, dismissed them as folklore, the product of an aging mind and generations of superstition. But the house had its own way of eroding skepticism. It started subtly, a book falling from a shelf when no one was near, the faint scent of jasmine, her grandmother's favorite, wafting through rooms that had been locked for decades. The unsettling feeling of being watched, a prickling sensation at the back of her neck, even when she was alone. One evening, while exploring the labyrinth corridors, Mira stumbled upon a hidden room behind a tapestry depicting a fierce battle. Inside, the air was thick with the musty odor of decay and something else, something metallic and faintly sweet. A single oil lamp cast long dancing shadows on the walls, revealing shelves filled with ancient looking journals bound in cracked leather. Driven by an insatiable curiosity, Mira began to read. The journals belonged to her ancestors, each entry chronicling the family's history intertwined with the house. What started as mundane accounts of births and deaths gradually descended into unsettling narratives of strange illnesses, unexplained misfortunes, and a growing fear of something within the house itself. One particular journal, written by a woman named Devi in the late 18th century, chilled Mira to the bone. Devi wrote of a presence, a cold and malevolent entity that had taken root in Arrakal Veedu. She described nightmares that blurred into reality, objects moving on their own, a suffocating dread that permeated every corner of the house. Her entries became increasingly frantic, her handwriting shaky, culminating in a final, desperate plea scrawled across the page. It wants something, something within us. As Mira delved deeper into the journals, the strange occurrences in the house intensified. Doors would slam shut with violent force, footsteps echoed in empty hallways, the scent of jasmine would turn cloying and sickening. Mira started experiencing vivid nightmares herself, shadowy figures lurking in the corners of her vision, whispering unintelligible words that clung to her like cobwebs upon waking. Krishnan, noticing Mira's growing unease, became more insistent in his warnings. He spoke of an ancient curse, a dark pact made by one of her ancestors that had bound something terrible to the house. He urged her to leave, to break the cycle before it consumed her as it had, he implied, consumed others. Mira, however, felt a strange pull, a morbid fascination with the history of her family and the darkness that clung to Arrakal Veedu. She felt a responsibility to understand, to perhaps even break free from whatever held the house in its grip. One stormy night, as lightning illuminated the rain lashed windows, Mira found another hidden compartment in Devi's room. Inside lay a small, intricately carved wooden box. It was locked, but something compelled her to find a way to open it. After hours of painstaking work, the lock finally gave way with a soft click. Inside the box lay a single object, a dried, withered flower that Mira didn't recognize. As she touched it, a wave of icy coldness washed over her, and the air in the room crackled with an unseen energy. Suddenly, the oil lamp flickered and died, plunging the room into absolute darkness. A low guttural growl echoed from the corner of the room. Mira's heart pounded in her chest as she fumbled for her phone, its weak light doing little to penetrate the oppressive blackness. Two luminous red eyes materialized in the darkness, fixated on her. Terror seized Mira. This was not a figment of her imagination, not a trick of the old house. This was real, ancient, and utterly malevolent. The creature moved, a fluid shadow gliding across the floor. Mira stumbled backward, her breath catching in her throat. The air grew colder, and the metallic scent from before intensified, now tinged with the unmistakable odor of decay. She scrambled out of the hidden room and fled through the labyrinth corridors, the sound of the creature's heavy breathing echoing behind her. The house seemed to come alive, the shadows twisting into grotesque shapes, the whisperings growing louder, more distinct. She could hear her name being called, a sibilant, mocking sound that sent shivers down her spine. Mira reached the main hall, the grand staircase looming before her like the skeletal remains of some ancient beast. She could hear the creature gaining on her, its heavy steps shaking the very foundations of the house. Desperation fueled her ascent. She raced up the creaking stairs, her lungs burning, her legs aching. She knew she couldn't outrun it, but she had to find somewhere to hide, something to defend herself with. She burst into her grandmother's old room, the scent of jasmine still faintly lingering in the air. The moonlight filtering through the window illuminated the room, revealing a small writing desk in the corner. Mira frantically rummaged through its drawers, her fingers brushing against yellowed letters and dried flowers. Suddenly, her hand closed around something cold and metallic. It was a small silver handled knife, its blade tarnished with age. It felt fragile, almost useless against the unseen horror that pursued her, but it was all she had. The door creaked open slowly, and the creature stood silhouetted against the darkness of the hallway. Its form was vaguely humanoid, tall and gaunt, with those terrifying red eyes burning like embers in the gloom. The metallic sweet scent was overpowering now, and Mira realized with a sickening lurch that it was the smell of blood. It lunged, its movement surprisingly swift. Mira screamed and raised the knife, a pathetic gesture of defiance. The creature recoiled slightly, hissing as if the silver held some power against it. Remembering the journals, Mira's mind raced. The curse, the pact, what had her ancestors traded for this torment, and what did it want from her? As the creature advanced again, Mira noticed something glinting on its chest, partially hidden by shadow. It was a pendant, a small, intricately carved silver amulet. A sudden realization struck her. Silver, Devi's knife. Could it be that simple? With a surge of adrenaline, Mira lunged forward, ignoring the creature's snapping jaws. She plunged the silver knife into the amulet. The deafening shriek echoed through the house, a sound of pure agony and rage. The creature recoiled, its red eyes dimming. its shadowy form flickering like a dying flame. The air crackled violently, and the metallic scent turned acrid, burning Mira's nostrils. The creature stumbled backward, its form dissolving into wisps of black smoke that writhed and twisted before dissipating into nothingness. The oppressive cold that had gripped the house for so long lifted, replaced by a sense of profound emptiness. Mira stood trembling, the silver knife clutched in her hand, the silence of the house now feeling different, not expectant, but final. The storm outside had passed, and a sliver of dawn peeked through the window, casting a pale light on the dust filled room. She looked down at the withered flower that had been in the wooden box. It was no longer withered. In the dim light, she could see that it was a night blooming jasmine, its delicate white flowers unfurling as if awakened from a long slumber. Mira never fully understood the nature of the entity that had haunted Arrakal Veedu, nor the specifics of the ancient pact, but as the sun rose higher, casting its golden rays through the windows, illuminating the intricate carvings and the antique furniture, the house felt different, lighter. The silence was still there, but it was no longer suffocating. It was the silence of peace. Mira stayed in Arakalveda. She repaired the decaying structure, cleaned the dust of generations, and filled the rooms with light and life. The whispers and the shadows never returned. The house of fear slowly transformed into a home, a place where the scent of jasmine was no longer a harbinger of dread, but a reminder of a darkness overcome. The journals remained a testament to the past, but their power had waned. The curse, it seemed, had finally been broken, not by banishment or ritual, but by a simple act of courage and a silver knife, under the watchful gaze of a night blooming jasmine awakened from its long dark sleep in the heart of an old Nair Taravada in Kozhikode.